Welcome. Magic, madness, and miracles pretty much sums up my life. The magic for me, I guess, was discovering that I could do something that would help me to escape from reality. And I guess the first thing that I ever became addicted to was probably lying. I remember being a kid and staying at my grandparents' house and sneaking into their closet where they had a coffee can full of quarters. And I remember going in there and taking a couple of quarters one day and sneaking down to the penny candy store and coming back with, a pretty good-sized bag of candy, which you could get a lot of candy for 50 cents back then. And I remember going down there with that 50 cents and buying that candy, and it felt so good. Felt so good to buy that candy, and coming back and and lying to my grandparents about where I got the candy. The kid down the street, his mom gave us a bunch of candy and stuff, and I got away with it. And seeing the progression for me, it was the very next day. I got up the next day and took out 6 quarters this time, and I went down and I bought a kite and a squirt gun and a couple other things and some more candy, and I came back. And my grandmother's asking me, where are you getting all this stuff? And that, and I'm lying again. My buddy down the street, his mom gave us all this stuff, and that went on for a little bit of time. There was a lot of quarters in that coffee can, and I got away with it. See, I learned from that. I learned that it's better to lie than it is to tell the truth, because you can escape the consequences. And see, the candy and the toys, they helped me to feel good, feel different, escape reality. And the lying was the mechanism that allowed me to keep doing it. And it was a pattern that just went on throughout my childhood. I remember being in school, first grade, and they had a father and son field trip. And I grew up in a little small town, Stowe, Massachusetts. And this was back in, the 50s. And, divorce was kind of uncommon back then. And, if you came from a broken home, you were definitely the minority. And, there wasn't many kids in my class. I'm thinking maybe there was 20, if that. And, maybe 8, 9 boys. And the teacher one day said, "We're having our annual father and son field trips. I need, all the boys to take one of these forms home and give it to your dad and have him sign it and bring it back so we can get a proper head count." And I did, and I took it home, and I took it out of my little lunch box, and I gave it to my mom, and my mom read it, and she said, I'm really sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't even know where your dad is, so I'm just going to sign this that he will not be able to attend. And I just said, okay, and I stuck it back in my lunch box, never talked about it, and brought it back to school. And the next day the teacher's asking everybody to hand those papers up to the front of the class, and she took them and she started reading through them. She goes, "Oh, Stevie, so glad your dad can make it. And Joey, your dad's going, that's good." And she went through all of them, and I was the only one that didn't have a dad going. And I remember she said, "Oh, Robert, I'm just so sorry that your dad can't make it." And I don't know where this came from. I just stood up in front of the class and I said, "My dad can't make it because he's an airline pilot and he flies airplanes all around the world." And everybody in the class was like, "Wow, your dad flies them big jets?" And yeah, of course my dad does. And that was amazing because I was in little Stowe, Massachusetts. Most people probably couldn't fly a kite. My dad's flying jets. I got all kinds of attention, and I liked that. I liked the attention. That was cool. Everybody thought I was cool. Again, escaping reality. Remember being out of recess one day and a big plane's flying by, and I'm out there with my classmates, and I'm pointing up at the sky and I'm going, "Hey, look, there goes my dad. He told me when he left he was going to fly over the first grade class at recess today, and he was going to tip his wing and wave to the first grade class." And the plane never tipped its wing, but all the kids in the class, running around telling everybody, "Bob Gerard's dad tipped his wing, and said hi to the first grade class, and I just ate up that attention. I loved it. It just became a pattern of a way to escape. I remember my mom We were at my aunt and uncle's house, I think, one time, and I was around the corner somewhere, my aunt and uncle, and we're playing cards or something, and I remember my mom. I heard her say this. She said, "You know how to tell when young Bobby's lying? His lips are moving." See, Mom knew. Mom knew Bob was escaping from reality. That was the magic, and at the age of 20, I discovered a new magic, drugs. Boy, could that help me escape reality, except the consequences were a lot bigger and a lot greater. And the insanity behind it is when you do the drugs and you create a mess, now you got to do more drugs so that you can deal with the mess. It's like a dog chasing his tail. It's just total insanity. Consequences are a mess. The miracles for me were in 1989 when I finally got to that point that the enablers, they all gave up on me. My friends, I burned them and they all gave up on me. My family, they'd given up. And I had nowhere to turn. And I ended up turning to something that I had abandoned many years before. At the age of 16, when I was involved in an industrial accident and lost my left arm, I blamed God. I blamed God, because what loving, caring God would take the arm of a 16-year-old child? I just didn't understand. And I remember for the first time in my life, in 1989, on my knees, with nowhere to turn, and for the first time in my life, asking that power that was greater than me to just please help me. And he did. And then the next day, just help me for one more day. Just help me for one more day. And he did. And before you know it, I just strung together a bunch of days, one more day at a time. Wasn't perfect. Thank God we talk about progress, not perfection. But one more day, just one more day. And one more day kept happening and happening. And here I am, 24 years later, doing it for just one more day. For just one more day. And God willing, I'll do it for another day, and then another day, and then another day. I put this DVD together for people that are just like me. It's a bunch of songs that I've written throughout the years, most of them recovery tunes, and I hope you enjoy it. I put a lot of effort into putting this together, and so come along with me on this little journey, and right through magic, madness, and miracles. And we're going to start out with one more day. I woke up one morning and my eyes were burning red, thinking about the night before, and did I do something I'll dread? Life can't keep on this way, I know that talk is cheap. I need to put in action promises meant to keep. One more day, one more day, one more day. And the things I did to my friends, and the way I used them so, thinking about my family, and I hurt them, I know. Stealing from my neighbors and cheating my best friends. I was totally selfish, and I refused to bend. One more day, one more day, one more day. Lying was a way of life. Trust nothing that I say. I just can't keep going on with my life this way. So I got down upon my knees and I began to pray. God, can't you show me there's a better way? One more day, one more day, one more day. It's been 24 long years, and how my life has changed. And lots of friends and family love me for who I am. And it only took one day for my life to turn around. And 24 years of one more day, my life's on solid ground. One more day, one more day, one more day. And all I really asked for was a better way. I knew that I could make it for just another day. One more day, one more day, one more day. I remember going to treatment for the very first time and not wanting to be there, not even sure if I needed to be there. And my very first counselor was a Catholic nun. She wore the little penguin outfit, and she's a little short woman, and I didn't like her very much. And I remember that initial meeting, that first time I went to her office and sat down across from her. And I remember she looked at me and she said, "So Robert, why are you here?" And I just kind of looked back at her and said, I guess I got a problem with cocaine. And she started to laugh. And I didn't think it was funny, because I didn't want to be there to begin with. And I wasn't even sure I had help. And you know, and she, as she's laughing, she goes, "No, seriously, Robert, why are you really here?" And I'm getting a little angry at this point. And I just told her, I just told you, I'm here because I got a problem with cocaine. And she started to laugh again. And I just didn't think it was funny. And finally, when she stopped laughing, she kind of like got up in my face. And she looked at me and she said, "Your drug of choice has absolutely nothing to do with why you're here." And I just kind of looked at her and I'm like, "What?" And she explained to me how that if I had a headache, that I would probably take an aspirin to relieve the pain. And she said that the cocaine was nothing more than a pain reliever for the mental pain, that I probably felt different than other people, that I just couldn't cope with life, and I needed to escape, and that the underlying problem had nothing to do with alcohol and drugs. And I just, yeah, okay, and out the door I went. And when I think back now, see, in 1989, my last drunk, I almost died. And it scared me enough to not drink and drug. I did step one. I had no problem admitting that I had a problem and that my life was becoming unmanageable. But that's all I did was step one. And for the next 6 years, I just didn't drink for one more day. That's about all I did. Nothing else about me changed. And nothing changes if nothing changes. In my 6th year of sobriety, I ended up going to jail. And you know, when you drank and drugged like I did, and you never went to jail, in 6 years into not drinking and doing drugs, any mind-altering anything, and you end up in jail for the first time and you hear that door shut, you kind of look through those bars and you say to yourself, what's wrong with this picture? And then it hit me. It was exactly what that little Catholic nun had told me way back, that my drug of choice had nothing to do with nothing. Because I hadn't done any mind-altering anything in 6 years. And look where I am, and my life is still spiraling out of control. She was right. She was right. The drugs and the alcohol, that was just the aspirin for me, the way to escape, to relieve the pain. So I ended up having to find out what was really wrong with me and fix it. And through sponsors and a power greater than myself, I was able to do that. And thank God it didn't get as bad as this next song. This next song's called Living Hell. Started drinking at 17, an angry person kind of me, shooting heroin by 21, bought a pistol just for fun. If only I'd listened when I was young. Stole my first car at 22, a Chevy Corvette color blue. Robbed my first bank at 24. I got shot running out the door. If only I'd listened when I was young. Shot a man at 33. I stood and watched as he fell to his knees, running from the law 35. Didn't care life would pass me on by. If only I'd listened when I was young. Just an old man with a tale to tell, all of our life not living it well. Just an old man living in a cell. Don't follow me to this living hell. by myself with all these tears. Always knew wrong from right. My decisions have ruined my life. If only I'd listened when I was young. Just an old man with a tale to tell, all about life not living it well. Just an old man living in a cell. Don't follow me to this living hell. Don't follow me to this living hell. We get addicted to anything. You know, years past, I could get addicted to music, sex, the internet, anything at all. See, I believe that someday they're going to have treatment centers for internet addiction. And, you know, just like when you go to regular treatment, you know, you can have be stuck in an alcohol group, a cocaine group, a heroin group, or whatever. Well, in that Internet Addiction Treatment Center, they're going to have a Facebook group. What a place to escape and hide. You can be anybody you want to be. You can use it for what it was designed to be used for, which was to share information with families and friends and old acquaintances. But some of us, especially people with problems with addiction, we can get lost in there. We can escape. We can escape reality and be anybody we want. So I decided to write a song about Facebook, and I hope you like it. I wake up in the morning, first thing I do is log on to Facebook to read about you. I read all the news feeds, and what do I see? A picture of someone's breakfast that looks gross to me. I like Facebook, how about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? Used to have a life, now I'm addicted to it. Invited to a night, the one about Mafia War. As soon as I signed up, the virus is at my door. Then you poke me, then I poke you. You poke me back. What's up with that? I like Facebook. How about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? Used to have a life, now I'm addicted to it. Log on with my cell phone every single day. God forbid I miss something that you might have to say. I'm always connected, checking for your post. This is an addiction, and Facebook is the host. I like Facebook, how about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? Used to have a life, now I'm addicted to it. All of these glitches now, Messenger's broke. It keeps them crashing. This thing's a joke. I can't live without it. I need it to work. Now it's auto-scrolling, man, I feel like a jerk. I like Facebook. How about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? Used to have a life, now I'm addicted to it. I've had it with Facebook, now I'm in a bad mood. Wasn't life better without the social tool? Guess I'll go back to using the phone. Life was much easier to simply call home. I like Facebook, how about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? You have a life, now I'm addicted to it. I like Facebook, how about you? Don't you think it's a super social tool? I was sitting at my piano one day, and I was banging out this little lick. And when I got to this part, I could hear words in my head. You know, it just kept saying, I got no words at all. I said, there's a song in there. And it just kept flowing. And the next thing I know, about 20 minutes later, I had an entire song written down on a scrap piece of paper. And I put it all together, put some music to it, and sent it to my biggest critic. And my critic wrote back and said, wow, that's a really good song. And they said, is that about you? And I said, well, no, it's just a song that just kind of popped in my head. And I sat down and I thought about that a little bit. And after thinking about it, I guess this song really is about me, because I had something very, very similar to this happen to me right after the first time I ever went to treatment. And it caused me to relapse, and I was off and running again. So this is it, and it's called No Words. I sat down to write this little tune. Was supposed to be about me and you, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. Still remember the day we met. You were beautiful, hard to forget, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. Shared private moments of our life. Was going to ask you to be my wife, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. And we dated nearly 3 years, till that awful day brought me to tears, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. afternoon down by the lake. You shattered my world and my heart ached, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. You see, I saw you with my best friend. Couldn't believe it, not you and him, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. The day that I saw you with him, I knew it was the end. So I sat down to write this little tune. Was supposed to be about me and you, but I got no words at all. I got no words at all. About 25, 30 years ago, I remember reading an article in a magazine, and it was called, I don't remember the exact name, but it was I think it was called The Stranger That Moved Into Our House. And it went on to describe this thing that had moved in, and it just kind of like took over the whole family. And everybody would just listen to the stranger every single night and during the day, and they would find out everything they need to know from the stranger. And of course the stranger turned out to be the television, and just how that it changed the scenery in the family concept. And it's all about technology, and I look around today and I see the same thing happening again, a little bit different. But it's happening again, and we're losing all of our social skills, and I don't like it. You know, there's the internet, there's cell phones, and there's Facebook. There's just all kinds of way to socialize today without actually really interacting one-on-one. My wife and I went out to eat dinner, and we were looking at families. You know, there'd be a family of 4, 5, 6 people. And as we looked around the restaurant, one of the things we noticed is everybody in that family had their cell phones in their hand, and they were texting away and just communicating through text with I don't know who. You know, constantly checking their Facebook and all that. And seeing again, technology is just changing the family concept. We're losing our social skills. I mean, after all, when I remember when I was in the first grade and you had a cute girl sitting beside you, what did you do? You passed her a note. You didn't talk to her. Probably because it's easier to get rejected on a piece of paper. You know, I can deal with that a whole lot better than having to show the shock and that awful feeling of rejection on my face in front of the person that's rejecting me. The problem is when we text things, we don't know how they were meant. For example, someone could owe you money, and it had been a while since you had heard from them, and you just send them a little text and say, hey, just thought I'd remind you, you know, and when can you start paying on that loan? And the person on the receiving end of that text can take it one of two ways. It can be, hey, can you start paying on that loan? Or it can be, hey, when are you going to start paying on your loan? So you don't know. Socializing skills, they're all gone. Technology is just, it's just changing the way everything works today. And I'm grateful that I got to grow up in the 50s on the perfect street. And listen to the words to this song. And if you're a baby boomer like me, you'll probably definitely be able to identify. Turn the corner and take a ride. Top of the hill, everything seems nice. And kids are playing in their bare feet, just tossing a frisbee on that perfect street. You see people that never lock their doors. Outdoors is where kids meet. There were no cell phones and no video games. That's how it was on that perfect street. Neighborly cookouts, sharing their food. Kids at the bus stop just heading to school. And I knew my neighbors by their first name. That's just the way it was on that perfect street. You see people that never locked their doors. Outdoors is where kids meet. There were no cell phones and no video games. That's how it was on that perfect street. Way back then there was no Facebook. We hung in ball yards and got lost in a book. And imaginations we had to use, creating games and building things with tools. You see people that never locked their doors. Outdoors is where kids meet. There were no cell phones and no video games. That's how it was on that perfect street. Set up a tent in our backyard. We even played theater where I was a star. Families round the table, dinner at 5. We talked about schoolwork and events in our lives. You see people that never locked their doors. Outdoors is where kids meet. There were no cell phones and no video games. That's how it was on that perfect street. Technology, taking its toll. It affects our lives and our very soul. And I'm so grateful for that ringside seat in the perfect time on that perfect street, you see people that never lock their doors. Outdoors is where kids meet. There were no cell phones and no video games. That's how it was on that perfect street. I buried my best friend about a year ago, and it was the first time I had lost a close friend in sobriety. And Terry was sober about 15, 16 years, and we really grew close throughout the years. We met and we were working together at a treatment center, and we just hit it off. We both had kind of matching personalities and the same interests, and he was definitely my football buddy, and I miss him. About 6-7 months before Terry passed, he was up in my studio and he was helping me put something together. I don't remember what it was. And Terry was known for off-the-wall comedy and just coming up with some stupid stuff, but he could make me laugh. And, you know, we were up there, and he said to me, because he knew I loved music and he knew I loved to compose, and he said to me, he said, "Bob, if Serenity could be music, what do you think it would sound like?" And I just looked at him and I said, "What?" He said, "You know, if Serenity was music, what would it sound like?" And I said, "Terry, I have no idea." And about a month after we had buried Terry, I was up in my studio and I was thinking about, you know, that question. What would Serenity sound like if it was music? And I sat down and I put this little instrumental together, and this one's for Terry, and I call it Terry's Song. So this one's for you, buddy, and I hope you enjoy it, but this is what Serenity would sound like to me. Kind of heavenly, angelly. But to be really serene, you got to have some happiness in there too. So I added a little bit of play. And Terry, this one's for you, buddy. Blame. I blamed everybody but me. All of my shortcomings, everything that went wrong. I would never look in the mirror and point the finger at me. It was always somebody else's fault. I lost my left arm at the age of 16, and that was God's fault. Angry at God for years and years and years, and even questioned if he even existed, because I just couldn't understand why would a loving, caring God that I was taught in the Catholic religion take my left arm. Why would he do that to a 16-year-old kid? I just blamed everything on everybody other than me. And my mom, my dad, if my dad hadn't left when I was 6, you'd drink and drug too. If you hadn't lost your left arm when he was 16, if you had lost your left arm when he was 16, you'd drink and drug too. And blame, 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 blame. And my mom did the best that she could. My mom grew up a foster child. What she lived, she learned. What she learned, she practiced. And what she practiced is what she became. And my mom was a good mom. My mom, her kids were the most important thing in her life. And sometimes, when I look back, she came close to loving me to death, because she enabled me to keep doing what I was doing, and always just made excuses for me, and I actually heard her on the phone one day talking to somebody, and she was defending me. And it was I don't know, shortly after I'd gotten out of treatment, maybe my 3rd or 4th time, and I heard her on the phone defending me, saying to somebody, well, if your dad had left you and you were the only boy in the family at the age of 16 and at the age of 6, and you lost your left arm at the age of 16, you'd drink and drug too. And seeing what that did is that it reassured to me that Mom understood, and she enabled me to keep going. I loved my mom, and I miss her dearly. And I decided to write a song about broken homes and moms and how they do the best that they can. And without a doubt, my mom did the best that she could. This next song's called Remember the Children, because that's what my mom did. Look at the children, feeling alone, unhappy faces, don't feel like home. Mom does the best she can, raising them alone. Remember the children in the broken home. They hide their feelings deep down inside, living in chaos. They never cry. Mom does the best she can, raising them alone. Remember the children, the broken home. Where is my daddy? I him alive? Does he not love me? Am I the reason they fought? Mom did the best she can, raising them alone. Remember the children, the broken home. So if you have children, remember their lives. Divorce is not easy, it cuts like a knife. Mom did the best she could, raising us alone. Mom, remember the children in my broken home. I was doing my lecture one night at a treatment center, and I was going over steps 4 through 9, and it's where on a blackboard I draw a picture of a head, and I talk about all the baggage, all the stuff that we carry around in our head, and and I like to call it stuff. You got to get rid of the stuff, remove the stuff, and take care of it. So I'm doing that part of the lecture, and this woman way down the back stands up and she yells out, and she says, "Are you talking about that junk in the trunk?" And see, and I'm old, and I didn't even know what junk in the trunk meant, but I thought it was funny, I thought it was cute, so of course I ran with it, and I'm getting laughs galore and kind of clueless as to why everybody thinks it's so funny. And I get out to the car, my buddy who was with me, he looked at me and he says, "Do you know what junk in the trunk means?" And I looked at him and I said, "Apparently not." And he began to explain to me what junk in the trunk was, and I was just shocked. And as I was driving, I just looked at him and I said, "You know what? There's a song in there somewhere." And so I wrote a song, and this one's called "Junk in the Trunk." Wake up every morning, junks are floating in my brain. Thoughts about the bad stuff gonna drive me insane. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. I went and bought an automobile, car I can't afford. I'm hiding from the repo man, he's probably got a reward. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. In my dad's closet one day, looky what I see. A big can full of quarters and dimes, these must be meant for me. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. Was at my best friend's party, drunk as drunk can be, and I tripped over my own 2 feet, now on the new TV. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. It seems my best friend's girlfriend, one day she needed a ride, so I took her back to my place, now she wants to be my bride. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. All this junk's insanity, all wrapped up in my brain. You'd think I would get a clue that it caused all my own rain. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. I got junk in the trunk, junk in the trunk, yeah, I got junk in the trunk. I was reading an article in the newspaper one time about a woman who was blaming herself for her son's death. Her son had become addicted to crack cocaine, and eventually he was found dead in the streets. And she found out by reading it in the newspaper. And I mean, that must have been horrible. And she was blaming herself. You know, no way is it her fault. You can't blame a mom for loving her child. She was blaming herself for years of denial of how bad he had gotten. And she blamed herself because she enabled him to keep doing it. You know, she talks about how when he was a child, she used to spoil him rotten. And, you know, and how every time he got arrested, that, you know, she would be there and she would bail him out. And, you know, she talks about how she never allowed him to grow up. And really a sad, very sad story. And so I decided to write a song about that. And how, you know, enabling can be so dangerous. You know, and sometimes we have to use tough love. John was a little boy, Mama was there for him. She spoiled and pampered him all the way to the end. When John reached his teenage years, he was in jail. Mama Raw was barely bound. She always fell for his tears. Mom had a little boy. She loved him to death. John got hooked on crack cocaine. Mama was always there, lending money, make excuses. He had no reason to care. John kept his distance from Mom. Guilt was eating him alive. Mama never let him grow up to become a man and strive. Mama had a little boy. She loved him to death. She was there till the very end. Never saw his last breath. Many years have passed on by, not hearing from her son. Then reading the paper one day, she learned he was killed with a gun. Love me, son, is always the plan, and love to the end. But let him learn lessons in life so he can become a man. Mom had a little boy. She loved him to death. She was there till the very end. Never saw his last breath. What Mama didn't realize, it's not part of the plan. She just kept on enabling, so he never became a grown man. There is no God, so I thought. You know, and I can think back to, I used to always say, well, have you ever seen him? And, well, I believed in UFOs since the first time I saw the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still in 1959. But I ain't never seen a UFO. Not one time. Ain't ever seen any evidence of really any aliens or funny little green men. Haven't seen any of that, but I still believe. However, I can look around, and through the last 24 years, I can see evidence of a power greater than me. I certainly didn't get sober on my own, and I've seen the evidence in, hundreds of people that I've seen throughout the 24 years. So I figured in this DVD that we needed to have a song for God, so I decided to write one. And this one's called Hallelujah.
had become a broken man. I had lost my way, so I got down upon my knees and I started to pray. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I felt his hands reach down for me, and I began to rise. He showed me a better way with a new set of eyes. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. So when you're down, just give him a call. He'll give you what you need. And if you ask honestly, he'll probably plant a new seed. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
I hope you enjoyed my little journey through magic, madness, and miracles, and I hope you got something out of this. I apologize for my singing, something that I've just started recently, and I'm working on it, and it's progress, not perfection. When I was putting this DVD together, a friend of mine had told me, you know, don't worry about the singing, because it's about the message. And I certainly hope that everybody got a little bit of insight into addiction, what it's all about. And I guess we're going to end this DVD right where we started, with One More Day. I woke up one morning, my eyes were burning red, thinking about the night before to do something I dread. Life can't keep on this way, I know the doctor's chief. Need to put in action, promise is meant to keep. One more day, one more day, one more day. Things I did to my friends, the way I used them so. Thinking about my family, I hurt them, I know. Stealing from my neighbor, cheating my best friend. I was totally selfish, and I refused to bend. One more day, one more day, one more day. to say. I just can't keep going on with my life this way. So I got down upon my knees and I began to pray. God, can't you show me there's a better way? One more day, one more day, one more day. It's been 24 long years and how my life has changed. Lots of friends and family love me for who I am. Only took one day for my life to turn around. 24 years of one more day, my life is all around. One more day, one more day, one more day. All I really asked for was a better way. I knew that I could make it for just another day. One more day, one more day, one more day.